oh, well, I'm very attractive. I'm very handsome. I dress nice, I look nice, I carry myself well. Why is it still not working? Why am I still not getting opportunities? Why is life not working out for me? It's a lack of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is your issue. I meet a lot of people in life, and I'm like, you're definitely put together. You're definitely smart. You went to school, you did your thing, but there's something about you that is rigid, and there's something about you that is for some reason not allowing the opportunities to stick. And we'll talk about this in the Glamour and Glitz masterclass this Sunday at 7. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry to burst your bubble. I know that you probably thought looking good was enough, or doing the right skincare was enough, or looking nice was enough. And yes, that's important, but that's not necessarily enough to keep you in the room. It'll get you in the room, but it will not keep you in the room. Okay? Emotional intelligence, charisma, and wit is really what's going to help you skip the lines. We'll talk about that. And in the class, and also in the High Achiever Lifestyle class, because a lot of people don't understand how much work it takes as a human being to reach your goals if your emotions are not arrested, if you're not mature. I know so many amazing people, you guys. I've seen them and I'm like, you're amazing. Like, you are beautiful. You are handsome. You are like book smart. Like, you are ambitious. But for some reason, it's not sticking. And they don't understand why. And then after a while, when I get to know the person, I'm like, aha, now I see why it doesn't stick. Now I see. That's why it doesn't stick. Emotionally, you're erratic. It takes one thing to send you off the edge. It takes one thing for you to crash out. You talk to people like they clean your toilet, right? You talk to everyone like they work for you. Every person you meet, you talk to them like they work for you. And then they don't want to work with you or for you, or they don't want to deal with you, or it's a family member and you don't understand why. You're like, what did I do? You don't know how to communicate with people in a way that's not offensive. You're abrasive with the way that you approach people. You have this abrasiveness and this aggression about you that you don't even realize that you have when you're talking to people, right? These are all things that come with emotional intelligence. Same thing with dating. I've met, certain men who are on the market who are like, oh, do you know anyone I can date? Do you know anyone? It's so hard out here. I haven't found the right one. It's so difficult. And then I'm like, I wonder who I can set him up with. And then when I get to know this guy on a deeper level, I'm like, you have like an avoidant problem. I don't know if you've realized that, but you won't be able to find love. And they tell me why. I said, because the minute a woman shows you interest, you run away. Think about that. The minute a woman shows you interest, you run away. So, in order for a woman to marry you, she has to show you interest. You guys have to both be interested into each other, right? Oh, yeah, I know that. So then why do you always chase women who don't want you and treat you terribly and who's going to make your life a living hell? But the woman who likes you and reinforces how handsome she thinks you are, how amazing she thinks you are, that turns you off. Emotionally, you're still in middle school, like the middle schooler who likes the girl that throws the ball at him during volleyball. You haven't matured past that. And there are a lot of adults who are still in their teenage years. It's unfortunate that we go to school and school taught us mathematics, science, history, all this stuff. But unfortunately, school did not teach us how to think. School didn't teach us really how to think. Thinking patterns, thought patterns. Let me tell you this. Many people, it's an emotional problem, right? It's an emotional problem, and it's a thinking problem. You have to have the mentality that if I do this, this will happen. If I don't do this, this won't happen. If I do this, there's a possibility that this will happen. If I don't do this, there's a possibility that won't happen. There's always possibilities. And you have to look at things from all angles before you make a smart move, reaction, or decision. Many people call me up. I get on calls. They're asking me, oh my God, do you think I'm under a curse? Do you think I'm hexed? Do you think somebody did this? Do you think somebody did that? Oh my God, I heard someone in my closet. Do you think someone's trying to ruin my life? Listen, I'm not saying that stuff is not real and that stuff doesn't exist. It does exist because I've been through it before. So there's a possibility, yes. Of course. There's always possibilities in life. But there are some people that I can say that after I got to know them, I realized that there was no curse, there was no hex, there was no spell done on them. They simply have self-destructive habits. And when people bring that stuff to you, you really don't know if it's really that or if it's just them. A lot of people, they have not mastered the skill of thinking. They don't know how to think, meaning they don't have consequential thinking. They just go through life and they just do random things. They just say random things. They do random things. You know, they speak to everybody like they know them personally. You know, they go through life saying disrespectful things, doing disrespectful things, and then they don't understand why that opportunity ended. They don't understand why. You ever meet those men who are like super, super abusive and they're so confused as to why none of their relationships work? And then, you know, if they're talking to someone who doesn't know them personally, they will say, oh my God, someone cursed my love life. They will say women just don't like me. And then when you get to watch that man behind the scenes, he's very freaking abusive. These are people who go through life with rose-colored glasses on. And life requires you to have a certain level of maturity, okay? A lot of men lack maturity, and honestly speaking, I can count on my fingers how many women I've met who have maturity, because many women don't. And they don't grow out of their immature ages, their immature ways as they get older. They just get better at performing as an adult. That's what I've noticed with a lot of women. A lot of women, they're good at performing as an adult, appearing as an adult. But when you get to know them on a deeper level, they're still 15. There's no maturity. They still compete with random women they don't know. They still compete for the male gaze. They still can't pay their bills on time. Okay? They still make up random lies, grab random lies out of a hat, you know, and there's just no maturity there. There's no maturity there. So I don't base a woman's maturity level or a man's maturity level on their age. I don't look at age as far as maturity, because I'm very young and I've met people 40, 30 years my senior who don't have my mentality, who don't have this level of maturity at all. They're still in high school mentally. And that goes for men and women, okay? A lot of adults, they are posing or presenting as adults, right? Like their exterior on the outside, they look like an adult, they're driving their car. But when you get to know them on a deeper level, when you get to get a front row seat at them and you really start to see the way that they are, they have not grown up at all past high school. They're still in their teenage years. Nothing has changed. And this is something that you see even when you're watching these reality shows. A lot of these women on these reality shows, the way that they act, you know, the way that they're, you know, gossiping about another woman together or making fun of her shoes or just very childish, immature things, you realize that there's really no growth there. And a lot of people, I always tell them in life, it's not a hex, it's not a spell, it's not a curse. Mentally, you're dwarfed. You're an immature person. The way that you think, you don't think with maturity at all. You think like a high schooler. You do things and you expect to get a little slap on the hand for it. You don't take things seriously until it turns into a serious medical issue or it turns into a serious legal issue. That's when you realize that you were in the wrong. And by the time you realize you were in the wrong, it's too late. It's too late. And I'm here to help men and women not reach that point where it's a little bit too late in the game. I hate to say it, but when I'm encountering women, men too, but I kind of will give them a little bit of a benefit of the doubt. Outside of, remember, men, I think that men cut up the most, like men really spaz out and cut up the most in relationships. 9 times out of 10. If you're working with a man as a woman, 9 times out of 10, you're probably not going to have a hard time. I'm not saying that they don't get jealous. I'm not saying that men don't get envious, but working with other women will usually be unbearable for you. You'll probably be able to breathe when you work with men, okay? 9 times out of 10, you'll be able to breathe when you work with them. Let's be honest. What I've noticed when I'm about to, especially business-wise, outside of like social media and stuff, like business-wise, when I'm working with women, I have to mentally prepare myself for some type of immature behavior. Whether it's a lie or a scheme or a setup, I always have to mentally prepare myself for that because women don't grow out of those things. Confidence. Your confidence levels as a woman will show based on the way that you go through life. Those behaviors of lying, okay, interrogating other women, bullying other women, making up lies, all this stuff, all this very, very whack stuff, this lame stuff that a lot of women engage in, they don't grow out of that. And a lot of women get on calls with me and they're like, why is my friend doing this? Why is my coworker doing that? Because they have not grown up. They've grown in age, meaning they're older physically. The number every year is getting higher, but the maturity level stays the same. And that's why a lot of times when you're going through life as a woman, as a man, whoever you're dealing with, you have to understand that a lot of people, especially if you've done a lot of work on yourself, a lot of people are not at your level of immaturity. At your level of maturity. I've worked with a lot of people where I feel like I'm working with a toddler. And this is someone who's probably 30, 40 years my senior. But the way that they are, it's like, wow, like you're grown on paper, like you have a mortgage and, you have a car payment and you have kids, like you're grown on paper. But dealing with you on a professional level is like dealing with a toddler. I'm dealing with a toddler when I deal with you. The amount of tantrums that I have to deal with from adults, temper tantrums, it's like a puppy that cannot get its treats, or a 3-year-old that is crying because they want to go outside. That is sometimes what I deal with when I deal with adults. I'm in the service business. I work with clientele. Offline, I work with clientele. And working with clientele shows me the true nature of most people. And it shows me that maturity doesn't come with age at all. Age doesn't bring maturity that much as we think. Maturity comes with ascension, and maturity comes with learning how to think properly and having proper ways of thinking and proper behavioral patterns that most adults do not have. You're an adult on paper, meaning you have a mortgage, you pay your car statement, you pay your bills, but when people have to work with you, They feel like they are working with a teenager that's in their sophomore year of high school, or even worse, their freshman year. Okay? I deal with this a lot in the service business working with women. I always have to prepare myself for some type of scheme where she's telling me she did one thing, but she didn't. I double check it and she didn't. Where she's telling me that so-and-so said something, and when I check in with that person says, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never said that. I always tell women in particular, you got to grow out of that. You got to grow out of that high school way of being where you're playing telephone, you're making up lies about other women, you're doing these immature behaviors. At some point as a woman, when are you going to get up and say, I'm going to be a woman now? I'm going to be a woman now. I'm going to be mature now. I'm going to smell the coffee now. At what point are you going to do that? When are you going to stop engaging in low vibrational behaviors? You know, even in the service business, I always have to prepare myself for games with people. And it's sad because I work with people who are so much older than me. But I always have to prepare myself for some type of game because a lot of people have not matured. You know, this even goes to dating. For you ladies out there who are dating, there are a lot of men that you will meet. When you start dating them, you will tell them, so what's your story? You know, why are you single? Like, what's your story? Right? And they'll tell you, oh, I just haven't found the right one. And, you know, it's been very difficult and there's not really any good women out there. And, you know, it's been so hard. But then when you get to know this fella, he's very avoidant. Like he's emotionally not present. And he doesn't even realize that he has an emotional problem. He doesn't realize that he has an avoidant attachment style. He doesn't realize that he's not capable of building bonds outside of the bedroom. He can't do it. He can't realize that, but he's going to come to you and bring you a sob story and tell you that he hasn't found the right one. And then when you get close to him, you will realize those inconsistent behaviors, those in and out behaviors, those appearing and disappearing behaviors, you know, disappearing and reappearing behaviors. And then you look at this dude and you're like, no, the women are not the problem. It's you. You're emotionally unavailable and you don't even realize that. Like you literally think that women are the problem. You have mommy issues. You have a lot of issues from your mother that you have not conquered. And because of that, you know, psychologically, you're making women pay for your mom's misfortunes. Because your mother wasn't present, you take that out on women that you date and you're not present for them because you want to punish them for what your mom did to you as a child. Boy, I tell you, when you start reading people, when you become a pro at human nature like me, you can read people like a book. There's nothing about them that you can't put two and two together. They're easily readable. People are not as complex and smart as you guys think they are. And when you learn to observe and not absorb, and when you learn to pay attention to patterns, ways of thinking and ways of being, you're not going to view people as some complex project. You'll just get to know them for a little bit and then you will see exactly what's wrong with them. And a lot of people, it's not a curse, it's not a hex. No. You have issues. You have emotional problems. You don't know how to think correctly. You don't practice consequential thinking. You don't know how to speak to people. I had this issue with a client the other day. I said, you want to know what your problem is? You don't know how to speak to people. That's your issue. That's why people don't want to be around you. That's why people don't like you. It's not because you're a bad person. You don't know how to deliver your words. You don't know how to speak to people. You speak to everyone like they work for you. You speak to everyone like they clean your toilets. And then when they blow up on you, you cry and you play victim and you're like, why does everybody hate me? what happened? Why does everyone hate me? What type of curse? There's no curse. And no, not everybody hates you. You don't know how to speak to people. You make people uncomfortable. You don't know how to address people in the right manner. You trigger people in a negative light where it has nothing to do with jealousy or envy or the way that you look or the car that you drive. You simply cannot communicate with people in a manner that is received correctly because you're out of control. You're emotionally erratic. February 23rd, Glamour and Glitz Masterclass. Be there or be square. You don't want to miss it. Learn how to master glamour to skip lines. Also, March 2nd, High Achiever Lifestyle. If you're tired of being in